The Proto-Malayic language, a language of the Austronesian language family, has branched out into various different languages, like Minangkabau, Iban, and so on. One language it did evolve into is the Malay language. It's an official language of not only Malaysia, Brunei, Singapore, and Indonesia, under the name Indonesian. Malay is also spoken within East Timor, the Cocos or Keeling Islands, Christmas Island, and southern Thailand. Altogether, Malay is spoken by a little over 300 million speakers. Austronesian peoples brought the Proto-Malayic language to the Malay archipelago around 1000 BCE, most likely Borneo. The evolving Malayic languages split into various groups. The two most common are Malayo-Sumbawan, not only include the Malay language but also a few others like the Balinese language, and the Chamic languages, including Acehnese of Aceh, Indonesia, Tsat, and Roglai, two languages of mainland Asia. Malay can be divided into 5 distinct periods: Old, Pre-Classical, and Classical, Early Modern, and Modern. First, Old Malay. From 1 CE, Old Malay was the start to the language's contact with other cultures. Traveling from India, the archipelago encountered Buddhists and Hinduists, and introduced Sanskrit as the language of religion. Malay was written in a variety of scripts, including the Pallava script. The oldest Malay text was found in Sumatra, Indonesia, named the Kedukan Bukit, dated May 1st of 683. Pre-classical and classical Malay comes next. During this time, Arab traders entered the peninsula between the 1300s and 1500s, and Islam became the new dominating religion. As such, Arabic loanwords were entering both formal and common Malay, alongside the various other languages of Malaysia. Malay also became widespread as a lingua franca during the Malacca and Johor Sultanates. This led to every region in the Malay archipelago speaking Malay, but spoken differently, particularly influenced by the regional languages. Early Modern Malay. During the age of colonialism, the Dutch came to Indonesia, in Batavia, and expanded throughout the various islands, with the British following after. The Anglo-Dutch Treaty of 1824 split the land, with the north to the British and the south to the Dutch. Because of this split, the Malay of the north had more English loanwords, while the Malay of the south had more Dutch loanwords. The printing press made Malay literature able to be mass-produced, allowing the common people to read and be exposed to formal Malay, which is based off the forms of classical Malay of the Malacca and Johor Sultanates. Prior to the Latin alphabet being used to spell Malay, the Jawi script was used to write Malayic languages, the Jawi script based on the Arabic script. With printing media, Malay linguists could make a new standard Malay language. In 1936, scholar Za'aba, aka Zainal Abidin Ahmad, made a book series called
Pelita Bahasa
to update the grammar of classical Malay. This new standard language was then used as a part of Malaysia in Indonesia's nationalist movements. Becoming independent in 1957, Malay was made the national language of Malaysia, similar to Indonesia making Indonesian its national language in 1945. Prior to 1971's reform, however, Romanizing Malay and Indonesian were based off of English and Dutch respectively, but as such, this reform helped the spelling become more consistent. So, what is Malay like? Spelling and pronunciation-wise, Malay spelling is quite consistent and not overly complicated like many European languages. In terms of consonants, the letter C makes the sound ch, and as such, the letter J represents j. All other consonants are the same as their English equivalents. In terms of vowel sounds, there can be a little variation. For example, the vowel E is pronounced as e or as a. The letter A also has a similar situation, with A being pronounced as a or a at the end of words, like in the verb for to read.
Baca
But aside from that, let's just go straight into the grammar. This sentence means, I like your cat.
Aku suka kucingmu.
You can see that the word order in Malay is quite close to English, but with a few differences. First off, subject pronouns.
Aku
Means I. Subject pronouns in Malay cannot be dropped, similar to that of English. And
mu.
means your. For possessives, the full pronoun is used as the possessive adjective and pronoun, but these two pronouns here are exceptions.
Anda
Is generally a formal pronoun that can be used in commercials and such, but is also used to be condescending to someone. So this sentence can also be,
Saya suka kucing anda.
the main difference is that in Indonesian,
Anda
is always spelled the same, no matter where it is in the sentence. Here's a sentence meaning, we accidentally ate that red rice.
Kita termakan nasi merah itu.
Both adjectives and demonstratives come after the noun. For example, this is my red rice.
Ini nasi merahku. Ini nasi merah saya.
But in this case, the demonstrative comes first, making it a full sentence.
Makan.
Means to eat. And ter is the accidental form, so the verb
Termakan.
means accidentally eat. Malay is an agglutinative language. Adfixes are attached to a root verb to change that root's specific meaning. Let's go over a few of these. First, the active form. Ma, mum, or mung. For example,
Aku mau baca koran.
this sentence means I read the magazine. Next, the passive, which is di. For example,
Koran inilah yang dibaca ahli sains.
this sentence means this magazine was read by scientists. You can see that in this sentence, it has the word
Yang.
which means that or which. Alternatively though, you can see it spelled as YG. I should also point out that in Malay, in the first and second persons, D is dropped. For example,
Koran inilah yang kami baca.
this sentence means this magazine was read by us. Next, the agentive, which is used to show a doer of a verb. So,
Makan.
means to eat, and thus,
Pemakan.
means eater. For example,
Adakah kambing pemakan daging?
this question means are goats carnivores? In this sentence, we can see the yes or no question marker. In Malay,
Adakah?
and in Indonesian, this would be.
Apakah?
As a side note, if we take away the suffix at the end, the word
Ada.
means there is or there are, and
Apa?
means what. Circumfixes and infixes are also used to make new words based off of a root. For example, the word to sit
Duduk.
can be changed in these ways. To sit on or to occupy.
Menduduki.
The word for resident.
Penduduk.
The verb meaning to sit someone down or give a seat or appoint.
Mendudukkan.
And the verb meaning to be situated or the noun position.
Kedudukan.
You may have started to notice that in these samples, the verb does not get conjugated according to person and number. For example,
Dia makan tahu.
this sentence can mean she eats tofu, she will eat tofu, or she ate tofu. Notice that on the verb, there's no affix showing agreement to the subject. And you can also see that there's no way of showing tense. Well, at least in the normal way. Many of these can be dropped, but let's go over a few of these. The progressive form,
Sedang.
so the sentence she's eating tofu will be.
Dia sedang makan tahu.
Next, the perfective. This would be equivalent to English's past tense.
Telah. Dia telah makan tahu.
The prospective form or future form will be.
Akan. Dia akan makan tahu.
The inceptive form
Terus.
means something like going to. So the sentence she's going to eat tofu is.
Dia terus makan tahu.
There's also a continuative,
Masih.
meaning something like she's still eating tofu.
Dia masih makan tahu.
And finally, there's the perfect form, the word
Sudah.
which means already. So the sentence meaning I've eaten breakfast is.
Aku sudah makan sarapan.
One thing in Malay that's interesting, like other Asian languages, is that it has something called classifiers. Take this question meaning, are you a tofu seller?
Adakah kamu seorang penjual tahu? Seorang.
Classifiers are words that count a noun or a group of nouns. English has some of these, but it's more common in many Asian languages, including Malay. Malay has 10 main classifiers to count these noun groups. First,
Orang.
means person, is used to count people. The se or se is an indefinite article, attached to the counter or to a noun, and for every other number, it's a separate word. For example, to say for a woman, it's.
4 orang perempuan.
The most common of these counters is the word,
Buah.
meaning fruit. For example,
Sebuah tasik.
this means a lake. If you want to count animals, you use the word
Ekor.
5 chickens.
5 ekor ayam.
The word for grain
Biji.
is used to count many fruits and many round objects in general. For example, 2 apples.
2 biji apel.
The word
Batang.
meaning trunk or rod counts long stiff objects. Similarly, the word
Bilah.
meaning lathe counts blades, meaning knives and spears and such. For example, 9 spears
9 bilah lembing. Keping.
means chip. This is used to count pieces of bread, stone slabs, land, paper, coins, etc. This is most commonly used when counting money. The word
Pucuk.
means sprout. This is used to count letters, firearms, and needles. Note that for firearms, this does not include guns. For guns, there's a separate classifier. For example, a pistol is,
Sepucuk pistol.
and the word
Helai.
means strand. This counts cloth, feathers, hair, and other thin layered objects. Many more classifiers exist in Malay, but are less commonly used. Throughout this video, I've been using Standard Malay, the Malay used in formal situations, of course. But throughout the Malayosphere, Malay has various accents and dialects throughout Nusantara, meaning Sumatra to Papua, all of them influenced by regional languages. For this video, let's just take a short sample of Johor Malay and compare it to, Sabah Malay. Let's look at a few words. The word for dislocated.
Terpeliut.
Terkehel.
The word for together.
Saing.
Bersama.
The phrase meaning to go straight.
Jalan tegak.
Jalan lurus.
The verb meaning to peel.
Kupik.
Kupas.
And to say very small, that's
Senonik.
Sangat kecil.
One interesting thing about Johor Malay is that it can compress phrases into a single noun. To say religious school, that's
Sugama.
Sekolah agama.
and the word for newspaper.
Sukabo.
Surat kabar.
But of course, throughout the Malayosphere, there are more divergent accents and dialects. This is just a short little sample. Malay is a very interesting language. On the surface, very simple. For people who learn European languages and complain how hard they are, Malay will be a fresh new opportunity to learn new cultures and learn a new language that isn't super challenging. When you get right into the details of the language, it still isn't super hard, but of course there are many challenges within them. The most challenging part will probably be the dialects, because they're all spoken differently depending on the region, and even within the region that they're spoken in, there's a lot of variation. But let me ask you, first, how different are the standard forms of Malay in Malaysia to Singapore and Brunei? And how intelligible is Indonesian to any standard form of Malay? And a different set of questions that I have for today too. How different are the dialects of Malaysia compared to the dialects of other Malay-speaking countries, including Indonesia? And which dialect of Malay is the most divergent of them all? And how much can you understand of that dialect? Put those in the comments down below, and I'm interested to see how divergent these answers will be. Thank you all for watching this little video about the Malay language. More Malay content will come soon, depending on how fast it'll be. Until then, thank you, audience. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.